Welcome to our first ever This Day in Weather History Year in Review special. Today features stories from this past year that happened around the world and in the United States. Hey, did you know that weather happened in the United States this past year? I know. Between the COVID-19 pandemic and the federal election, weather really didn't have a chance. But right now, we open in January, when 2020 opened with the island nation continent of Australia literally on fire. Australian wildfires. The 2019-2020 Australian bushfire season came to be known as Black Summer. It was a period of unusually intense bushfires in many parts of Australia, peaking in December of 2019 and January 2020. And by the 7th, the smoke had moved approximately 11,000 kilometers, that's 6,800 miles, across the South Pacific Ocean to Chile and Argentina. The cost was over $103 billion in Australian currency in property damage and economic losses, making the bushfires Australia's costliest natural disaster to date. January 24th, Brazil shattered a 110-year-old rainfall record. A state of emergency was declared in over 100 cities across 3 states. The city of Belo Horizonte, host of 2014 World Cup soccer matches, saw 171 millimeters, that's 6.7 inches of rainfall within a short 24-hour period between January 23rd and 24th. This blew away a record that had stood for 110 years. When the flooding finally subsided, the death toll had reached 70. March 17th, tornado warnings in Hawaii on St. Patrick's Day. 2 things you normally don't associate with the Aloha State are tornadoes and St. Patrick's Day. But 2 tornado warnings were issued in the Hawaiian Islands on this day. This was so rare an event that there had only ever been 2 tornado warnings ever for the state, as long as record-keeping had began back in 1986. They occurred in 2006 in Maui, 2008 in Kauai. April 12th and 13th, the Easter tornado outbreak in the U.S. Gulf State residents were saying, quote, "We're used to tornadoes in Mississippi, but no one is used to this," end quote. On April 12th and 13th, a total of 140 tornadoes touched down across 10 states, inflicting widespread and locally catastrophic damage. What made it worse is that families were in transit, as this was during the Easter weekend. May 9th, Mother's Day, record cold and snow. If Easter wasn't bad enough for moms who were looking forward to fun with their children or grandchildren, Mother's Day also took a beating when an extreme weather pattern delivered bone-rattling cold to the east, Midwest, and south for the weekend. Just as the east had given up on winter, Van Wert, Ohio, plunged to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. That's minus 28 degrees Celsius on May 9th, the first time it had ever dropped into the teens Fahrenheit in the month of May in 127 years of records. June 23rd, the Godzilla dust cloud reaches the Caribbean. On June 23rd, the Sahara Desert rose up and blanketed the world. A massive cloud of dust from the dry Dust Bowl region didn't just reach the Caribbean. It caked them in that reddish dust that was carried in the jet stream across the ocean on its way to North America. The dust, known as the Saharan Air Layer, or the SAL, normally forms and occurs in the period spanning late spring to early fall. But what was unusual was the immense size and concentration of it. That hadn't been seen in over 50 years. Now, the experts who nicknamed the event the Godzilla dust cloud warned people to stay indoors and use air filters if they had them, because the air quality across most of the region reached a record hazardous level. August 12th, the UK temperature record. The UK this past year had its longest stretch of temperatures exceeding 34 degrees Celsius since records began in the 1960s. During this time, warnings for thunderstorms and heavy rain were in place as the hot air brought about intense instability for the whole country and region. The UK Meteorology Office said that the scorching temperatures recorded in parts of southern England and lasting for 6 days in a row was indeed the first time since records started in 1961 that Britain had experienced such a heat wave. In Sussex, Over 300 homeowners had water supplies cut off or restricted as a precaution due to the heightened desire for water in this heat. More than 150 million extra liters of water were pumped into the network as the UK heat wave continued. September 4th and 5th, campers rescued from California wildfires caused by the gender reveal mishap. Drum roll, please. And the Darwin Award for 2020 goes to everyone who staged and attended the gender reveal party in California that sparked what would become known as the Creek Fire. That's right. On September 4th, the Creek Fire was so badly out of control that a military helicopter was called in to rescue 63 campers from a reservoir in the Sierra National Forest as the fire near Shaver Lake rapidly spread. The next day, another 225 people had to be saved from the Mammoth Pool Reservoir area after the Creek Fire blocked the only road out of the site. It was then when officials determined that it was a gender reveal party that started one of the wildfires. CAL FIRE said that this particular blaze was sparked by a smoke-generating pyrotechnic device. That's a great idea. That was ignited at the gathering in San Bernardino County. It went on to scorch 21,000 hectares of forest and claim the life of one firefighter. And November, it will always be known for one thing: the U.S. federal election. No! Kidding. I'm kidding. It was the year when we saw a record number of named storms during the Atlantic hurricane season. In 2020, the Atlantic hurricane season was the most active and the seventh costliest Atlantic hurricane season on record. This record setter featured a total of 31 subtropical cyclones, 30 named storms, 13 developed into hurricanes, and 6 further intensified into major hurricanes, with one, Hurricane Iota, attaining Category 5 strength on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It was only the second season in history to use the Greek letter storm naming system, the first being 2005. That was the year of Katrina and Rita. And all of this happened this year in weather history. There you have it, a highlight of what happened this past 2020 in the weather around the world. Tomorrow we're going to focus on the events that define this past year for Canada in the weather. Remember that you can catch the podcast videos for today and tomorrow's episodes on television on the Weather Network and online anytime at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. These 2 episodes are extended length shows, so enjoy. I'm not normally allowed to do this. Tomorrow we send a swift kick to the pants of 2020 as it walks out of our lives and hopefully forever. But we will do so with typical Canadian class. Talking about the weather, eh? On this day in weather history, with me, your host, Chris May.